And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined by Aaron Larsoul, who might just sit there and chug for the whole show.
Sounds about right.
Um,
No idea what you would like to speak about on this fine-ish Thursday.
I would say it is certainly a Thursday. Weather's kind of gross where I'm at, and I'm going to start with this series of comments here from YouTube. This is well done.
Already?
Yeah. Have you've heard "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend"?
That sounds like white people shit.
Well, it is. But all right, so it goes, "Hello Darkness, my old friend.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I
Is
think I've heard. Yeah,
with you again."
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So here's how this is going from Biba Magic. Hello, Darvin, my old friend. It's time to say this. Don't pretend. The Lakers struggle, need to mend. In awkward silence, fans suspend. Whispers of a coaching woe.
Was this okay?
In the Lakers game, it clearly shows. Hello, Darvin. It's time to go.
Carlo.
We're considering Docket really blows. All
Carlo
right.
here, yes. John, you're right. I'm gonna need a lot of Hennessy. Carlo, cheers to you, everybody in the chat.
All right. Today on the show, I just thought that was a really clever, fun few.
Did you?
Comments there from Biba. I don't know who Biba is. That was very well done. So today on the show, we are going to be talking about the Athletics reporting. Jovan Buha and Shams Karania of the Athletic reporting today that apparently there is a bunch of locker room strife, turmoil, unrest, unease, anxiety, whatever term you want to use for it. So we're going to talk a lot about that. For those of you who listen to the show regularly, none of what was reported today basically should really have taken you by surprise. This has been stuff that I've been talking about here for months. And I don't mean that as a shot, by the way, at the Athletic or Shams or at Jovan. They do fantastic jobs, obviously, on their own. But, you know, this is not exactly shocking to me or to anybody who has taken my reporting anywhere near seriously over the last couple months. Most notably last week when I wrote that Darvin Ham was the problem for Substack, which you can find if you just subscribe to my Substack. But Aaron, before we even get to the specifics of the reporting, I've been sitting and thinking about this. To me, the fact that this got out there is the story, not necessarily just the specifics of it and why various guys are frustrated, not necessarily the 6 sources, which is a funny number to have, seeing as 6 guys from last year's core who got minutes in last year's playoffs are returned or did return for this season. The fact that this is getting out there, the fact that I have been talking about it for as long as I have, the fact that it is now out there as clearly reported as it is now, that to me feels like a breakdown in communication between the coach and the player, right? Like normally if the communication between coach and player is steady and consistent, normally those parties don't feel the need to go out there and talk publicly about whatever it is that they feel like they need to talk about internally. And the fact that this got out there right now, given the way that the season has gone, given how stubborn Darvin has been to not go to the lineups that he went with or that got to the Western Conference Finals last year, like all of this that has been bubbling and simmering and just kind of festering for the last month or so, it getting out now, to me, that feels way more notable than any of the details that we're going to talk about here in a second.
I mean, look, if Jovan's really good and Shams is really good and they both have sources, as clearly do you, I don't think it's that notable that it got out for one specific reason, and you mentioned it. if they are to be believed, and
there's no reason not to.
Whether they're right or wrong isn't the point. The point is, I believe that they are correct in their reporting. I believe that they have been told these things, right? Whether the content of the message is accurate or not is a different question. But I believe in their reporting. I trust in their reporting. And so trusting in their reporting means that 6 people told them this. So if that many people were willing to be sources and saying the same thing or versions of the same thing, then I don't think it's that surprising it got out, because there were clearly a bunch of people that wanted to deliver that message or versions of that message, or yeah, I guess versions of that message is a fine way to put it. So I don't think it's that surprising it got out. If that many people want to say something, it's going to get out. And you know this because you have turned into, NBA insider Anthony Irwin over the last couple months here. I figured out who some of your, or at least one of your sources is. I figured it out. I've got it.
It's Harrison.
Yes, it is. Harrison wears the newsboy hat, so yes, the little chapeau. So he seems like he operates in the shadows and could be a source on such things. But my point in saying that is, like, everybody has different people that they talk to, and so if Shams and Jovan were able to coalesce 6 sources for this, you've been saying something, not this exactly, but you've been saying something similar to this for a while. And you probably have other people that you talk to other than those 6 people. I don't know who those 6 people that Jovan and right. And Dan has people that he talks to, and BT has people that he talks to, and McMiniman has people that he talks to. So if they got 6 people, that would make me guess that there's probably more people that are saying something similar, because right, it's not the same 6 people that are talking to you and talking to them and talking to McMiniman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think it's that surprising that it got out, because it would appear, just based on the facts here, that lots of people have been feeling some version of what was said.
Yeah. So a quick look behind the curtain here, and I'm going to be careful not to put people in awkward situations. But when the reporting about Austin and Darvin went viral in the way that it did, my phone was blowing up. And, one of my constant refrains was like, this is the tip of the iceberg. Like, this is not specific to Austin. This is a legitimate issue that has been going on that dates back, Aaron, to like how quickly Darvin gave up on D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves as a pairing in the backcourt. Rather than swap out Torian for somebody who gives those 2 a little bit more perimeter defense, he instead benches Austin, who was a key factor in that Western Conference Finals run. And, that was, I think, to me, from what I have learned over the last, few months or whatever, that to me was like the starting point of, wait, what? Where is this continuity thing?
So, okay, yeah, that's fair. The continuity question is fair. That is a very fair question. I think the Torian thing is a red herring, though, because it wasn't swap out Torian for whomever to add more defense who didn't exist at that time, because the answer would have been Vando, and he did not. Well, he existed. He just did not exist as a healthy option.
Either Rui. Like,
yeah, but Rui's not going to guard anybody. Rui's not going to guard anybody either. The problem was Darvin.
It was just like, so essentially the crux of the issue, and this is something that Shams and Jovan get at, and this is something that I have been talking about all season long, is that the 6 guys who went on that run last year have been looking around at the situation and been like, okay, when are we going to do the continuity thing? At what point are we actually going to do the thing that you told us was going to happen all media day.
Yes,
And like, look,
we can
like
get into that.
I want
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
I want to be clear because like it does sound somewhat entitled on their part, right? Like you do have to still go into the season and earn those minutes. Um, and you do have to go through training camp and earn those opportunities. But I also can understand from their standpoint, this is what we were told all off season and all preseason and all training camp and all that stuff to get ready for. And it has never happened. And for Ham to go and like last night, I thought it was like really, really stark the comparison and the contrast between Ham's messaging. We just got to get healthy. We just got to get healthy. We just got to get healthy. And Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves on the other end of things going like, we're healthy enough to beat the Heat without Jimmy Butler. We're healthy enough to win more games than we are currently winning.
There's a bunch here. Yes, I agree that was odd, right? The disconnect in the messaging. I agree. They're like, I'm not going to try to defend that. I agree. What I will say though, and here's what I also will say is that I have been pretty clear and have said on record that I would start who I would start.
Yeah.
I would start Austin, Rui, Vando, LeBron, AD. What I don't understand is why in searching for a combination, in searching for something, in searching for a baseline to build off of, I don't understand why last season's lineup that was pretty successful, late in the season wasn't as successful as people remember, and then into the playoffs, the starting lineup that we're going to say took the Lakers from the 13th seed to the Western Conference Finals. Whether that's true or not is a different matter, but that was the baseline lineup of D'Lo, Austin, Vando, LeBron, AD. What I don't understand is why that lineup hasn't been tried.
Well, like, all right, let's.
So I don't understand why that. So I don't understand why that lineup hasn't been tried. If you were searching for something that feels like a baseline, but I think the Austin thing is a little unfair to Darvin for two reasons. One, Austin wasn't particularly good to start the year, and so sending Austin to the bench was not so. The problem was Darvin decided, whether he's right or wrong, he decided that D'Lo and Austin defensively just didn't work. And neither of them had a particularly good offensive start to the year either. Austin has been pretty good since. D'Lo's been up and down. So if you decide that if Austin and D'Lo just doesn't work defensively, it's not about like subbing Torian out for that to make up for that, because for whom? Vando wasn't available. And you can't put Rui in to make up for deficiencies on the perimeter defensively. Again, we can disagree about if that's the right choice and if he's correct. And, and again, I'm saying this as saying like, I don't understand why last season's lineup hasn't been tried. Now D'Lo's injured, fine. But, I had 4 or 5 games ago, 6 games ago. I don't understand why it wasn't tried. But I don't think it's fair to say if Austin and D'Lo as a combination doesn't work, why didn't you take Torian? Why not take Torian out for Rui? Because yes, that would be 5 of the 6 guys that kind of were the thing last year when Vando wasn't available.
It was
what Darvin decided was that combination D'Lo and Austin defensively it just doesn't work. And I think he's probably right. It just doesn't work. Like defensively, you can't guard on the perimeter well enough if those are your 2 guys. And so just throwing Rui into that mix for Torian, that's not solving that problem.
So I think, and what I'm going to do for Substack here in the next opportunity I get, there's been a lot going on here lately, but what I'm going to do at some point is like jot down the timeline for how all of this played out, because I do think it's worth, like you said, Austin wasn't good at the start of the year, and that had a lot to do with the FIBA thing. And I do kind of think that, like, yeah, Austin started playing better when he started coming off of the bench and he was split up from D'Lo, but we also saw that combination work fine last year. And so, like, just kind of giving up on it.
No, but we didn't. We saw that combination work fine when Vando was there to take point of attack defensive responsibility away.
And that's what I'm saying, is that like so essentially Ham Austin goes to the bench and he starts playing better when he was coming off of the bench and he's not there next to D'Angelo Russell. And the team started to feel like find kind of a footing there, and it kind of made some sense there. And then, I think very notably, you started to get the beginnings of the Zach LaVine rumors, and D'Angelo Russell started quiet quitting. And, when that started happening and your secondary ball handler there isn't working out, I thought, and people that I've spoken to close to that situation thought, okay, well, it isn't necessarily working with D'Lo with those starters. Austin is still Austin freaking Reeves. He's still the guy that helped get us where we got last year. Just swap them and see what that looks like. And when that didn't happen, and that's what Shams and Jovan are also writing in their piece, when that didn't happen, that was another kind of head scratching moment there. And, for whatever reason, Darvin has been reluctant to entrust the guys that like helped turn around the season last year. And that is, again, like where this disconnect has begun and festered and worsened over the course of the season. And, again, the specifics of it all, the details are worth kind of lapping over, I guess. But for me, the fact that this gets out there, and this is I wanted to start the conversation, our conversation, with what feels like the lack of conversation internally that would lead to this getting out externally. And, the one thing that we thought Darvin had going for him, his one strong suit, or his main strong suit coming into this season, was his interpersonal skills, his ability to maintain buy-in. But the fact that he has lost the locker room, it feels like, this early in the season, we aren't even halfway through. And you have this amounts of leaking going on, in part, I feel like, in large part, because these guys don't feel like they are heard in the conversations about the directions of these teams, as the Lakers have been mostly rudderless this season in terms of ideologies and identity. Like, that to me is the most damning thing. Like, his rotation, his coaching decisions, his timeouts, his challenging, and all that stuff, that's almost neither here nor there. If he isn't good at the thing that he is supposed to be great at, the thing that he is like his strongest suit, then I don't really know what he brings to the table anymore.
Is there a question there?
No, like the fact that like this coming out, like, don't you think that, like, this coming out the way that it is, after a game like that, where there's a clear disconnect between messaging from Ham and from the players, like, doesn't this it doesn't feel to you, Aaron, like this is a lapse in communication that finally blew up and became public? Because that's how this is all striking me.
I mean, there's no way to paint yesterday's game or what happened after, the post-game stuff, and then the reporting from Shams and Jovan, the Athletic reporting today. I mean, there's no way to paint it as good. So, yeah, I would say that I don't know that it's necessarily a lack of communication. It could be that these things have been communicated, and the people, if the sources are to be believed, the sources that came out still had something they wanted to say. It could possibly have been communicated and people didn't like the answer that was communicated. I mean, that's a possible thing too. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a lapse in communication, but there are clearly, I mean, again, if the reporting is to be believed, that there are clearly people that are not thrilled about what's happening right now. I think Austin like makes a good point though. Austin in that post game said, you know, it's
Vibes
not
are
that we don't.
shitty.
It's not that we don't like each other, right? The vibes are shitty, but it's not that he like specifically went to clarify it. It's not that we don't like each other and don't get along. It's like we're losing, and losing sucks, and the vibes are going to be bad when losing sucks. Look, I don't think that Darvin's been great this year. I don't agree with the like we need to. So he was asked about he was asked about, you know, the continuity thing, basically what you've been talking about and what you asked a few minutes ago and you've been talking about now for a couple weeks. And he said, like, we can't have any continuity, and we can't really figure out what this is going to look like and settle on anything until everybody is healthy. That I don't think is a good answer. Like, plainly, I just don't think that's a good enough answer because nobody's healthy all the time. And the Lakers have been pretty. The Lakers have been. I mean, look, the Lakers have had rotation guys out, you know, a bunch here and there. And, you know, Gabe has barely played this year. Vando's been out a bunch. Rui's been out a bunch. But like before the last two games, your four best players are probably LeBron and AD, who have basically missed no time and have played at elite levels. And Austin, who has been up and down, started struggling, but has been pretty good since. Hasn't missed any time. And D'Lo was healthy until a couple games ago. So, yeah, I don't think if you have going into the year, if you have who you think are your four best players have been very healthy, like I don't think that's a good enough answer for we can't like get it together. It's not that we can't get it together. Like there's not going to be any continuity or it's going to be tough to settle on anything because it's looking for something that I don't believe and I don't think anybody reasonably should believe is going to be there, right? Like who's healthy in the NBA? Nobody, right? Like who has Sacramento last year? like that's it.
I am
like right, and then I guess this Sacramento's been pretty healthy this year again somehow, and OKC has been pretty healthy too. But like that's not a thing that exists, especially when
Aaron Gordon just got attacked by a Rottweiler.
Yeah, right. Like that just doesn't exist, especially when you know, like the Lakers aren't old in total, but AD has had, you know, some issues staying on the floor. Not recently. He's been, and even last year, like I think I saw he's played in like 78 of the Lakers' last 82 games or something like that. But you know, and LeBron is plainly old. He is still defeating Father Time, but he is so I don't and you know, D'Lo was out a bunch last year. Like, I don't think it's a reasonable expectation to think that this Lakers team is going to be any healthier than they are right now. So I didn't like Darvin's answer to that question, but I don't specifically think it's a breakdown of communication. I think it can be that some people just didn't love what was communicated and wanted to say something. I think that is another possibility.
Yeah, I've heard that there was some head scratching when Darvin's quotes came out because it felt like excuse making after you just lost to a team that didn't have Jimmy Butler and to like
and to the point to your point, AD and Austin said we have enough. And by the way, the Lakers do have enough to win. The Lakers have enough good players to win. Torian's been fine this year. Torian's been pretty good.
I was going to ask, like, so you said that the Lakers have had their top four players. Where do you think Ham ranks Torian there? Do you think he has him first?
I have to look at my phones. Things are happening. It's a lot of ins, a lot of outs, and a lot of what have yous. I think is that the line from The Big Lebowski? A lot of ins, a lot of outs, and a lot of what have yous.
So I couldn't
hear you. I was doing very important things on my phones.
All right. So this is what Shams and Jovan wrote for The Athletic. The two kind of graphs that caught my attention. Quote, there's currently a deepening disconnect between Darvin Ham and the Lakers locker room. 6 sources with direct knowledge of the situation say, raising questions about the head coaching standing. the people spoke with The Athletic on condition of anonymity so that they could speak freely on the matter. The sources have described the disjointedness between the coach and the team has stemmed from the extreme rotation and starting lineup adjustments recently from Ham, leading to a fluctuating rhythm for several players across the roster. And then the other one that caught my attention is a little further down. The Lakers, again, quote, the Lakers championed their continuity all summer, including bringing back their top 5 scorers from the Western Conference Finals, James, Davis, Reeves, Russell, and Hachimura in that order. But more than a third of the way into the season, 3 of those players and the team's 3rd, 4th, and 5th highest paid players in Russell, Hachimura, and Reeves, respectively, at that, were coming off of the bench. Reeves has been coming off of the bench most of the season, despite being touted by Ham as a future all-star over the summer and ranking 3rd on the team in scoring. Russell's role has shrunk since Las Vegas, and Hachimura's playing time vacillates on a nightly basis. That again, you know, it speaks almost exactly to the issues that I've kind of made known over the course of the last couple months, and that if you're going to basically say that like the theme to a season is this thing, in this case it's continuity, if you are going to basically promise a certain thing, not just like internally but publicly, if the thing that you are going to say, like the reason that this team is going to be better than last year because it needed to be better than last year, right? Like this team got swept in the Western Conference Finals, and so the reason that this team was supposed to, like, we were promised that this team was supposed to be better was because these guys were going to get more reps together, and that these guys were going to grow both individually and collectively, and that would be, you know, and when you add to it the additions of Gabe Vincent and Taurean Prince.
How about this? How about this? I think that yes, of course you want to improve, right? The Lakers got swept in the Western Conference Finals last year. Excuse me, and we're a 2-10 team and had to fight all the way back. I think that the roster this year is better. So yeah, I mean, you have to be better. Like, okay, I guess you want to be better. Of course, I do think the roster is better.
I think so too. I've disagreed. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter today saying that like the roster is bad and therefore like we can't really hold all of this.
Who's the big loss from? Who is the big loss from last year? Dennis.
Well, I guess? I mean the most notable would be losing Dennis Schroeder and then not getting anything because Gabe hasn't played this year. But like, you know, even like not counting the injuries and stuff like that, I agree with you. I thought that this roster made a bunch of sense coming in.
I still think the roster makes a bunch of sense.
Me too. But the problem is that like the way that the roster is being utilized is going to hold it back. And I think that's why you're seeing this stuff come out in the way that it is. And, you know, I again, I just keep going back to how is there, I understand going through the experience of last year and coming out of it saying like, okay, we clearly need to be quite a bit better to get past Denver. But you did win 2 playoff series with a certain set of guys and with a certain core of guys. You did make that insane run in the second half of the season to even get into that position in the first place, right? Where every night had, you know, legitimate stakes attached to it, or every game that the Lakers were playing down the stretch of that season had stakes attached to it. And, you know, when you go through all of those trials and tribulations, I don't know if you heard the clip or you watched the clip that I tweeted with Harrison and me from earlier this week about that Easy Company or whatever. But like this core 6 guys, like they went through it last year. It took a lot of work to even get into the play-in, get through the play-in games, and then get into the playoffs and win those playoff series. And then, you know, obviously you suffer the disappointment at the end of it all. And the season doesn't end in the way that you wanted. But like that core of guys went through it all. And then to come into here, and yeah, I understand Vando was hurt all training camp basically and all preseason. And that's going to hurt your ability to build on the continuity. Austin was clearly fatigued at the beginning of the year, wasn't the best version of himself, and that's going to, hurt the amount that like a coaching staff can stick with that, that continuity concept. At that time, Cam Reddish was playing above his head and was a lot more focused on the things that make him a more impactful player. Taurean Prince was the only wing who was healthy for some stretches there. So I understand why the coaching staff circumstantially would look at those guys and say, like, all right, we need to rely on you here, and you have, earned yourself some goodwill here moving forward. But I think those other 6 guys from last year are looking at all of this and they're saying, well, where's the goodwill that we earned last year? How is it that like it took, just those circumstances that were kind of like fluky, right? Vanderbilt's heel bursitis and Austin being tired from playing in FIBA play. Those are fluky circumstances that led to those guys being lesser versions of themselves. And now all of a sudden, that identity, those core principles, that run all gets scrapped. And I can totally see why these guys are kind of looking at it for the entirety, basically, of the season and going like, what? We didn't earn anything? We don't get to see any time together? And last night you finally get to, right? Last night I think we did finally get like 30 seconds or so of Austin, Vando, was it
No,
Rui,
no,
LeBron and AD?
no. Rui's out and D'Lo's out, so no.
No, we were going to get, it was Austin, and if Max would have subbed in for Prince instead of Austin, you could have had Austin, Max, Vando, LeBron, and AD, and that would have been like the first time we would.
But Max didn't play. I mean, Max wasn't doing anything last year. Max didn't play last year.
I know, but I'm just saying that, like, I come back to those guys want to see as many minutes of them combined on the court together as possible. And given the amount that Ham has been leaning on Taurean Prince, and given the amount that he has been leaning on Cam Reddish, though I think that's diminished lately. Like that is what I'm here to tell you, for those of you who are watching, like that is where all of this is stemmed from. And when you arrive here and when those guys, I believe, have voiced their opinions internally and they haven't felt heard, that stuff is going to come out. And that's where we find ourselves now. And that kind of gets us to like the last question here on the right side of the screen of what next. Where do the Lakers even go next? Like, I don't even know. Like, can Ham resuscitate this?
I mean, yes. The answer is yes. But I think that this is a very important stretch. And the reason is the Lakers have, I want to say I think it's 10 home games. I believe it's 10 home games in January, and might be more than that, but I think it's 10 home games in January and 5 road games in January. But the road games, or maybe it's 4 road games in January, but the road games are, I know it is 5. It's 5 road games, but the road games are like the Clippers, Utah, the Warriors at the beginning. So it's like literally one night away out of the state of California. Mm-hmm. And then I think the 29th and 30th, or the 30th and 31st is somebody in Atlanta, right? There's like 2, there's a back-to-back to end the month on the road. Somebody in Atlanta. I don't remember who it is. And it is not I mean, there are some not great teams, but it's not like a murderer's row schedule.
Yeah.
And so starting last night, like Miami beat the Warriors without Jimmy Butler and, a bunch of their other guys, and without Jimmy Butler and without Kyle Lowry and without Martin, etc., and without Josh Robertson, etc. Or Josh Richardson, excuse me, etc. So, but last night, like Miami's, I think Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the business. So, and Miami is always going to put like a legitimate effort forward, and like they're always going to be cohesive and all of these things, right? Miami's never going to be fun to play. but they're missing their guy. Like they're missing Jimmy Butler. And so that's a very winnable game. And so, and going forward, there's a lot of winnable games. I mean, Memphis is pretty good now with Ja back, but they lost last night. Toronto sucks. The Clippers are good, have been good, but Toronto, there are winnable games on this stretch. And so I think the answer to what next is, I think it's pretty crucial this month to see if the Lakers can finally settle on something, on an identity, on rotations, because it's a bunch of time at home. Look, excuses and reasons are excuses and reasons, but December sucked for the Lakers. It was gone the whole time, basically. It was basically just away the whole time, including in Vegas, the 7th and the 9th for those 2 games. And the Lakers were just on the road the entire month, basically. Do those things matter? Yes. Are those excuses? Sure, maybe. And if you are given excuses, it's human nature. If you are given excuses, humans will take excuses. But those run out because the Lakers have a very, very favorable schedule in January. Home, basically the whole month. And there's some good games in there, but there are a lot of winnable basketball games. The Lakers should have won last night. They should have beaten Miami last night. So the answer to what's next for me is, can the Lakers settle on something, an identity, rotations, starters, etc.? Because the Lakers are pretty healthy. D'Lo should be back soon. Rui, we'll see. But the Lakers are really healthy, like in the macro sense, as far as it in terms of NBA, like in the NBA landscape, the Lakers are pretty healthy and have this favorable stretch. So can the Lakers settle on an identity, starters, rotation, etc., so that the Lakers can find out when the trade deadline comes February 8th, what has to happen? What can be, is it a little tweak that's needed? Is it, like sweeping changes that are needed to give Rob and his team some idea of how to move forward? I think January is like crucial. The Lakers are like basically tied with the Warriors for 10th and 11th. So it like, if not now, then when? And if not now, then maybe never. So I do think the answer to your question of what next is, the next couple weeks have to be something so that there can be a plan at the trade deadline.
Doesn't it feel like a bit of a waste to go almost 40 games and not have any of that really figured out? Especially when you had the answers coming into the season?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've told you what I would do. I don't like I've told you I've told you who I would start, and I've told you I don't understand not giving the lineup that was successful last year a try. So sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, yes.
But like, all right. So I
Does it
still
feel like, how about
maintain.
this? Hold on, let me be more specific. Does it feel like a waste? I don't know, because I don't know the reasoning behind it. I suspect there probably is some, but I don't know what that reasoning is. So is it a waste? Not necessarily. I just don't know what the reasoning for those choices is or are.
Nobody seems to.
Yeah, okay, fair. No, I agree. That's fair. That's a fair, like, on the outside, that's a fair thing to say. You're right. But because we don't know what that reasoning is, doesn't mean that there isn't some.
I have to ask the question, and I basically know
is this where I'm gonna have to like leave and you can filibuster about about Orca facts?
But I have to ask the question because new information keeps coming in or whatever. I have maintained.
Wait, hold on. Wait, what do you mean? Like, you got new information now that I haven't seen yet?
No. I'm talking about like the stuff that we talked about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So like basically all season I have operated under the assumption that there is just no way Darvin Ham gets fired. It's like from heading into the season and for the vast majority of the season, I have operated understanding that Darvin Ham is not going to get fired. What I will say, though, from what I have been able to gather, is that this is a big month for him, and that I don't think I still think it would be a pretty substantial upset if Darvin gets fired or whatever. But this is the most kind of unease I have felt as it pertains to the job that Darvin holds and the job that he has continued to do. Is there any circumstance here where Darvin gets fired?
Is there any circumstance? I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty broad, but I do not expect so. But is there any circumstance? Yes, sure.
I mean, like, look, if I would ask you that like a couple weeks ago, you would have said no.
No. If you asked it that way, I would have gave the same answer.
Is there any realistic circumstance
that he gets fired when?
Mid-season this season?
I you know what? I'll use your phrasing. It would be a huge upset. No, probably not. Is it possible? I guess so, but no. But to be fair, like another component of this is not a normal scenario. And by the way, I'm not like blaming. I'm not placing blame on this, but like in history, teams with LeBron, cycle through coaches. So I'm not saying that's good, bad, or otherwise, but like that and by the way, the fact that LeBron is playing like he's playing, and the fact that LeBron is in year 1,021, like I understand the urgency. So I'm not going to say there's no chance, but no, I don't think he's. I mean, certainly today has not been a great day for Darvin, but
we just start calling him
the Athletics. Today has not been a great day for Darvin with the reporting that has come out. But no, I still think we're a long way from that.
A couple things that
I still think we are a long way from that being a thing.
A couple breadcrumbs that I do think are worth pointing out to people, because this is kind of where I start my reporting in. It's like, a couple breadcrumbs here and there. But the other day I saw on ESPN.
Hansel and Gretel over here?
Yeah. Okay. Kendrick Perkins was on ESPN the other day saying that essentially Darvin Ham needs to step up his game. I think that's his actual wording when it comes to rotations, when it comes to sets, when it comes to whatever. Kendrick Perkins was on ESPN saying that Darvin needs to step his game up. Perkins is very, very, very closely tied to LeBron and LeBron's camp. So when I saw that, and when I saw it in that clear a term, that made me kind of go, that's kind of interesting. And I kind of stored that in the back of my head. And then last night you get the quotes where the players are saying and feeling one way about their competitiveness despite the injuries and all that stuff. And Darvin saying kind of the opposite. That was another kind of disconnect thing that was noteworthy to me. And LeBron fitting it all out in its entirety. LeBron just like not answering questions after last night's game was obviously very notable. And yeah, this is why, and again, I still think it would be pretty surprised. I would be pretty surprised if Darvin gets fired anytime soon. But, and this is maybe where you might want to take a nice hearty swig here. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to let him go.
I mean, all right. I'm not going to respond to that specifically.
No, I don't expect.
I mean, I think I have to. I think I'm making some. I'm making. I'm making some chicken stock that I gotta go turn down. Make sure it's not over. It's not boiling over.
Yeah. I started doing? I started adding some. I've started adding beef stock to ramen. Like in on top of like the seasoning and all that stuff and my own seasonings, but just like I would say a nice little splash of stock to your ramen makes a big difference.
Next time we do like a
different experience.
Next time we do a former Silver Screen and Roll / Lakers Twitter night in LA. Next time you're in LA, I'll make ramen. I make a homemade ramen. It's pretty damn good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very like coaching change in mid-season is a very, very complicated thing, and there's a lot more that goes into it than people see on the surface or people think on the surface. So again, I think we're a long way away from that even being considered, but I don't think it's coincidental that Shams and Jovan's reporting came out today after the game last night. And then, I've said, right, like I've agreed with you that I didn't love the disconnect on the messaging between Darvin and AD and Austin in their press conferences. And again, I'm on record here. I said it a few minutes ago. I'm on record. I disagree with Darvin in Darvin's stance about being unable to really settle on anything due to guys missing time. I think that in the aggregate, I think the Lakers' health, let's say the distribution of minutes, I think the health as a distribution of minutes has been better than we could have expected going into the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the last note that I'll make here before we get you out of here is that I guess the one positive to all of this is that it's now out there. Like if there was any question, if there was any there was any lack of clarity about how guys have felt about the season or whatever, it is now out there. And I have been hearing it all season to this point, this kind of frustration. And now it is out there from, one of the biggest, platforms covering the team. It is a very different thing when they report this with months of reporting, and I report something, on my tiny little Substack. This is now out there, and it kind of forces, what I really hope doesn't happen here is that the Lakers look internally and get angry at the leaks rather than the information. I really hope that the Lakers use this as an opportunity, and Darvin specifically uses this as an opportunity to be like, okay, where did I fall short here? How is it like, how is it that so many 6 different people were willing to come out here and have this leak to the public on how they feel about the job I have done to this point? How did that happen? And, if he takes that and learns from it, and the guys all kind of figure this out and have this now out there in a way that they have to address it, then I think that's how you make progress. But if this goes ignored and guys get angry or people in power here get annoyed at the fact that this leaked, then nothing gets learned from it. And then that's how you arrive at Darvin eventually getting fired.
So two things. One, oh wait, no, go ahead. Finish. Sorry for interrupting you. Go finish.
No, I that was it. Like,
okay.
It was just
so 2 things. One, you don't like when I say this, because obviously you're focused on the Lakers and our listeners are focused on the Lakers. But I think this is more common in the NBA than people think.
Oh, it totally is.
So like this happens all the time, every team, every season, right? We're like Spo is the best. I think you agree with me that I think Spo is the best coach in the NBA. And was it last year or 2 years ago? Like he, during a timeout, was about to fight Jimmy Butler. And like Udonis has it, right? And he's the best. And they, had this miraculous run themselves last year and have several years previously. So like some disconnect in the locker room is pretty standard. So that's one thing. Like it feels to look, and I have to deal with this every day, right? Like this is, I don't want to tell you how many phone calls and texts and stuff I've gotten this morning about, and emails I've gotten this morning about this, and questions and resolutions and thoughts and everything. But this is the NBA. Like this is pretty standard. To your other point about the difference between being upset at the leaks themselves. Maybe it's not leaks. Like, I don't know if this because this is clear. I don't like if 6 people will say
like
it,
a
I don't know that
faucet.
that's really a leak, right? Like, I don't, this is not some like trade thought or something that gets out that like, yeah. So, but I think that's so the leak versus being upset at the leak, or let's call it this, being upset that people said this, or being upset that the content of the message, right? You're worried about that. I don't think you can be upset at the leak, quote unquote, as opposed to the content when it is like they were
This
very
out.
specific. They were very specific in their reporting about it being 6 people. Not because usually the answer would be multiple, right? Usually they would say a source with, connected to or close to the situation, or multiple. They were very
Mhm,
specific about it being 6, which is for this sort of thing pretty large number.
mhm.
So I don't think that Darvin can, or the powers that be, I don't think they can be upset about the leaking itself. I think they have to focus on Darvin specifically has, again, whether it's right or wrong, like the content of the message has to be the thing that's focused on. I don't think you can just be, how did this get out, right? Like, like Draymond with the video, right, when he punched Poole in practice. Like, we have to do an investigation about how this got out. I mean, okay, but you could also not punch a guy and then like, right, you don't have to worry
And
about,
you don't have to worry about the
then
video.
you don't have to worry about a video. So when it's 6 people that have said this, I think that kind of drives home the point that the content is what is important here for the deep dive and the investigation, not who it was or how it got out.
Yeah, that is essentially like the one, kind of shining light that or one silver lining that I've found
Where
today
you start
is
singing
all
the
right.
the Final Four song. What is it? Like One Shining Moment?
Yeah. One shining.
You're here to
Yeah,
get. You're gonna get R.I.P. You're gonna get us to do your Luther for us.
yeah.
Do the Luther Vandross?
But yeah, I think this can potentially be productive if the interested parties take from this what you need to, right? This feels like an opportunity to kind of come to Jesus a little bit and say like, all right, it's time to like stop messing around and actually listen at least to these people who, again, I would remind everybody, like, helped earn Darvin Ham the 4-year extension that he's currently on. You know,
There are people in the chat that want me to take over as coach. I assure you, it would not go better. I can promise you that would not be an upgrade. I guess I would have to stop drinking Hennessy at games. I can assure you, it would not be an upgrade.
it's gonna be like that. Like, like Mike Brown had that cup that he would spit into, right?
Wait, did he? No, I don't know this. Mike Brown?
Yeah, Mike Brown used to have he used to have
Yeah, would
a
he had dip
Gatorade
in
cup.
during the game?
No, like not like dip. Like he had to spit. He had some kind of a medical thing going on that he would have to spit into this Gatorade cup.
Okay, I did
And
not know this. Does he still do it?
yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched him closely.
Okay.
But yours, you'd have a medical thing where you have to like take a sip from that Gatorade thing.
From the
And for some
medicinal
reason,
Hennessy.
you you keep picking up teas like late in the fourth quarter after
You
your
have to
fourth
get sent to
Gatorade
the
cup.
locker room. Y'all got it. Y'all got it from here. Y'all got it. Go ahead.
The run our test coaching approach. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is a big show. Thank you a ton for that. Thank you, Aaron, for hopping on and being a good sport. And I do want to say, like, thank you to everybody who has been kind of propping me up all day as the stuff that I've been reporting has now made its way into kind of more mainstream channels. So I appreciate those who have taken time out of their day to point that out as well. Until, let's see, the Lakers don't play again till tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it's Memphis tomorrow. It is the Clippers on Sunday, the Raptors on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who Thursday is, but there's another game Thursday. The 11th.
So because
Phoenix comes back to town for like the 94th time that the Lakers and Phoenix have played this year on Thursday the 11th.
Because I wasn't able to go in last night's All Access Lakers, hopefully I'll be feeling a little bit better and I'll be able to give it a go on tomorrow's show to make up for that. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, which is going to be then, as well as a happy hour episode tomorrow, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Aaron Larsoul, and this has been the Lakers Lounge.